Our next caller is Joe Lombardi from Linden. Go ahead, Joe. You're on the air. Joe, Tommy says, speaking for the first time in 3 minutes. Sal does the commercials. Joe, you there? You? Hello? Hello, Joe, Sal says. You're on the air with Sal and Tommy. What's your question? Hello. Hey, fellas. Good. Okay, can you hear me? Loud and clear. Good. Look, guys, I gotta say, been a big fan of the show. Am a big fan. Huge fan. My sister Francine, she makes calzones every Tuesday and Thursday in Denville, and we listen. She making them right there in her house. We sit and we listen to the show, and gotta say, huge, big fan. Well, thank you, Sal says. So what's your question, Joe? Merry Christmas, guys, and Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, Tommy says. So, your question, Joe, shoot. Look, guys, Joe says, I love the Giants. Been a Giants fan since before Parcells. Love the Giants, but I'm worried about what they're going to do in the draft. It's one thing us sitting here 2-14 going into the last week of the season. It's another thing thinking next year is going to be like this year. And I'm saying, I don't know. Looking for some hope, fellas. Okay, Tommy says. You're the GM for the next 10 seconds. It's your call. What are you going to do? So the Giants need to draft a QB. They need a new offensive line. They ain't got any receivers that can catch the ball. Their defense is all bad. Replace all. Well, Sal says. Looks like you're suggesting a 50-pick draft when the team's only got 10 picks. You're only 40 over the limit, buddy, Tommy says. It's these Jersey public schools, Sal says. They don't teach kids basic math, and then 50 years after you graduate, you call into a radio show. Joe tries to say something. It sounds like a hurried combination of the words wait and but Sal cuts him off. Joe, my man, I hate to break it to you, but there's no hope. Giants are never going to be good again. Management can sign a bunch of space aliens, and that front office would find a way to mess it up. More like the moment the space aliens put on a Giants jersey, they're going to get arrested after a fight at the club. You'll be reading injury reports about broken ankles after dog walking, Tommy says. I can't, Sal says. Don't. Do not remind me that Wilson literally got put on season-ending IR because he tripped over his Rottweiler while he was trying to take her out of the bathtub. Joe, I'm telling you this as a friend. There's no hope. Forget about the draft. Forget about next season. Find yourself a nice hole in the ground and stick your head in it. Sal flips 2 switches. You're listening to Sal and Tommy on AM 740, New York, New Jersey's #1 sports talk show. Listen, guys. New Year's resolutions means time to look in the mirror. And let's be honest. You were fat last year, and if you don't start acting now, you're going to be even fatter come March. But let's be honest. Even if you've been hitting the gym and eating right, there's something about being a guy that says, I don't want to just be fit. I want to become a beast. Now is the time to try Hypermax Double-Barreled Rage Powder. Hypermax Double-Barreled Rage Powder. Just 1 scoop before, after, and during your workout for the gains and body you've always wanted. Hypermax Double-Barreled Rage Powder, available at hypermaxdoubleragepowder.com and without a prescription in most northern New Jersey pharmacies. Sal flips 2 different switches and then says, our next caller is Paul Kozlowski from Staten Island. Go ahead, Paul. You're on the air. Hey, guys. Huge fan of the show. I'm a Knicks and Golden State Warriors fan, and I want to... Hold on, Sal says. You said what? You said you're a fan of who? The Knicks and the Warriors. How long have you been a Warriors fan, Paul? About 5-6 years? Okay, Tommy says, throwing his hands up. Tommy and Sal had thrown up their hands and fallen back in their chairs at practically the exact same time. No, Sal says. No, Paul, you're not a Warriors fan. You're not allowed to be a Warriors fan. A guy named Paul the Polak Kozlowski from Staten Island, Tommy says. Warriors fan. I'm sincerely disappointed in you, Paul, Sal says, muting him. I thought you'd be better than that. Think about your family's reputation next time before you call the show. We have time for one more caller before our weekly checking in with the Jets segment. Today we'll be speaking with Jets free safety Tyler Dawson, so make sure to stick around for that. Kathy Davis from South Orange, you're on the air with Sal and Tommy. What's your question? Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I was wondering what your opinions are about the papal visit to New York next month. The mayor was on some morning show today talking about how much... Hold on, Sal says, cutting her off. Lady, what part of sports show don't you understand? It's a sports show, ma'am, Tommy says, jumping in. baseball, football, basketball, ice hockey, Sal says, even tennis sometimes. Golf, Tommy says. No, look, no, golf. No, please, stop, Sal says, gesturing with his hands. Sports, lady. Ask your husband about it the next time you want to call in, and then do everyone a favor and don't call in. Sal mutes her and flips 2 switches again. You're listening to Sal and Tommy on AM 740, New York, New Jersey's #1 sports talk show. Look, let's get real about athlete's foot. Most people have it. Most people like having it. I had a friend who complained to me that no matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't catch it. After a long day of work, kicking off those sweaty boots, getting a 5-minute scratch in before cleaning up for dinner, I sympathize with him. But the thing is, and here's where we got to get real about athlete's foot, we all know it's not good for you in the long run. Finally, true relief is on the way. I can't even feel my feet anymore is a topical cream plus injection into the spine done 5 times a day that will have you cured of your bad habit in no time. Talk to your doctor today about, I can't even feel my feet anymore, and put your scratching days in the rearview mirror. 2 different switches from the 2 he had just flipped, but the same 2 switches as when he had switched back to the broadcast before. All right, well, you know what time it is. You asking me if I know what time it is, Tommy says. I'm asking you. I'm asking the janitor. I'm asking that guy under the bridge. I'm asking your Uncle Petey and your cousin Sam. It's time for Just Ask a Jet. It's time for Just Ask a Jet, Sal says. And we're speaking live with free safety Tyler Dawson. Tyler, how are you, brother? I'm good. I'm good, guys. How are you? Well, Sal says, I'm 15 pounds overweight. Can't get my dog to stop barking at 2 in the morning, and my wife thinks my first name is profanity. So, I'm good. I'm doing good. Listen, Tyler, the team's had a tough year. You're 5-11, out of playoff contention for a few weeks now, but I got to say, the team's been playing hard. You haven't quit, and that's something everyone can really respect. Yeah, Dawson says. Thanks, yeah. Appreciate that. It's a grind, It's about the next snap. It's about the man next to you in the foxhole. You got to seize opportunities and keep pushing. Last game, Tommy says. You guys are tied 17-17 against Chicago late in the 3rd, and you step in front of Maxwell and take it 70 yards to the house. You get your first pick 6 of the career. The team gets its first road win of the season. Take us back to that play. Walk us through it. Yeah, man, Dawson says. I don't know. We were playing cover 2, I guess the QB didn't read it, thought we were in man. I saw that route on film all week leading up to the game. I guess it's just see the ball, go get the ball, go get it done, something like that. Yeah, Sal says. Good stuff. Probably was a relief considering how poorly the defense has looked all season. 29th against the run, dead last against the pass. 3 weeks ago, you guys gave up 600 yards of total offense to Los Angeles. And I got to say, they're just bad. They're a bad football team. They're a bad football team, Tommy says. Sal says, I don't know how to say this any other way, but LA is a bad, bad football team. They've got 2 wins less than you, but one of their wins was against you. 600 yards of total offense, 59 points. LA doesn't even have a functioning line. They're a collection of human turnstiles. I'm telling you right now, money on the table right now, my grandmother, I bet she could get a few sacks against that line. Anyways, Tyler, getting that win in Chicago had to feel pretty good, right? Yeah, Dawson says. Yeah, it's always good to get a win. A win's a win. Football's about winning. And at the end of the day, it's about numbers on the scoreboard. So yeah, always good to be the ones with more points at the end of the game. Okay, well, Sal says, that's just about all the time we have today. Tyler, pleasure having you on the show. Good luck in the season finale down in Miami. Thanks, guys. Always good to talk. Make sure you guys get outside sometime today. Sun's out, sun's shining. Go soak it up a bit. Take care. Dawson clicks out. Sal turns to Tommy and says, still on the air, get some sun. There's a guy with a good outlook on life. Get some sun. I'm going to sit in this studio in my 2 sizes too tight jeans until 5 o'clock. And by that time, the sun is set about an hour ago. Then I'm going to ride the metro for an hour and a half, hoping the guy barfing in the corner 2 seats away doesn't barf on me. I'm going to get home. My wife's going to have 10 things for me to do. Kids probably did something stupid in school, so there goes another hour, 2 hours. And then if I'm lucky, right before I change my fat butt into pajamas with holes in them, I might be able to scarf down some leftovers, trying not to spill my light, flat beer on myself, watching, the Knicks, the Rangers, whoever, screw up something like they always do. Get some sun. Get some sun, Sal says again. It's easy to get some sun when you look like that. You know, if I was him, I'd probably walk around shirtless all day, just seeing how many people don't just want to come up and touch me, come and take a photo. Oh yeah, get some sun. I'm going to walk around shirtless in Central Park, maybe get a light lift in, then a light jog, and take a light nap. And then come Sunday, whether we win or lose, I go home rich. I look great. I get to go on some schmuck's show and tell him, hey, make sure you get some sun today. Tommy laughs and continues on laughing. I really, really hate my life, Sal says. I really do. Now Sal laughs and switches a final time for the final ad to close out the show. He does the ad, he thanks the listeners, he reminds them to tune in tomorrow, same time as always. Sal and Tommy part ways. Sal decides to grab a bite to eat before the metro. He calls home to let his family know. No one answers. He doesn't bother to leave a message. Sal gets home and finds the house completely dark. The metro broke down and the 90-minute trip turned into 5 hours. He spoke to his wife sometime in the middle of all that. I'll see you when you get home, she said. I love you. But she's already asleep, the kids are asleep, and it's so dark he didn't see a toy truck or something across the floor as he made his way to the bathroom. The big toe, that one especially, it throbs, and it throbs when you hit it just right, and Sal certainly did. He makes his way downstairs. His wife must have forgot to leave him something for dinner. He opens the fridge. He closes the fridge. Cheetos it is then. He takes down a bag and plops down on the couch, and he's wearing half of what he wore to work, and his socks are really sweaty, but he makes the on-the-fly decision not to remove his socks, because then he'd have to get up and wash his hands, and he really wants to start eating Cheetos. So he just tears into the bag, ripping it open from the middle. He forgot to get a drink, and so he does get up and hastily pours 2 16-ounce Rolling Rock beers into a formerly 40-ounce Big Gulp soda cup, and sits back down, his right leg crushing 3 or 4 stray individual Cheetos into the couch. He turns on the TV and finds the sports channel. The Knicks are on, and it's late in the fourth quarter. Man, they're garbage, he thinks. And from a place of authenticity as much as a place of hurt. He's not a hater, he's a lifelong fan. His grandfather took him to his first game at Madison Square Garden when Sal was 7, and it's been the Knicks for him ever since then. All those years of pain. Man, these Cheetos taste like absolute trash, he thinks, scooping handfuls into his mouth. Man, the Knicks, yep, another missed jumper. You think Anderson would have learned to shoot by the time he got to the NBA. He's 4 of 21 from the field tonight, 0 of 6 from the line. The guy is an NBA small forward, and he's missed all 6 free throws tonight, Sal thinks, shaking his head side to side as he shovels in more Cheetos, soon washed down by big gulps of Rolling Rock, the beer with a noticeable cherry Coke residue on the downside kick. I hate the Knicks, Sal thinks, nodding to himself in confirmation of, yep, they're losing 106-74, and they can't shoot, and man, these Cheetos are disgusting, absolutely unacceptable. He finishes the bag and falls asleep half dressed on the couch. You're listening to Sal and Tommy on AM 740, New York, New Jersey's #1 sports talk show. So, you watched the game last night? Sal says. The Knicks game? Tommy asks. No, Sal says. The synchronized swimming dog petting game. Yeah, the Knicks game. Do the Knicks even play basketball at this point? I think it's a fair question. 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 But the thing is, what can be done about it? What are we going to do about it? Tommy says. What are we going to do? Okay, Sal says. Here's my honest, unfiltered thoughts. If the Knicks lose their next game, the NYPD needs to be waiting in the locker room to arrest them all. The charges? Who cares what the charges are? How about embarrassing the city of New York? How about ruining the lives of everyone in New York? Arrest them all, televise the trials. I'm telling you, you'll start seeing some progress in the court. Anyways, our last caller of the day, Peter Peterson from, yes, the caller says, hello, such an honor to be on the, wait, Sal says, are you actually telling me your name is Peter Peterson? You are Pete Peterson. Yes, the man says, Pete, right, that's right. I can't, Sal says. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to let you go. With what's going on, not just in New York sports, but in the world today, I'm sorry, I can't let you on the air. I can't have a guy named Dan Danielson, John Johnson, or least of all, above all, a guy named Pete Peterson calling in. I'm sorry, this would be the final straw. With that, Sal mutes the caller. Sal does the final closing commercial. Sal signs off. Sal slumps back in his chair and exhales deeply. Sal leaves the studio as he's done countless times, but this time he's told there's someone waiting for him. It's the Cardinal Archbishop of New York, His Excellency Tommy Candleman. Turns out Candleman is originally from Staten Island, longtime Islanders fan. Likes the New York Giants even more, has liked them, loved them all his life. It's like Sal and the Knicks. So anyways, the Cardinal Archbishop tells Sal, there's this papal visit to New York City in a few weeks, and I want you to give a speech. Sal is not usually rendered without words, rendered speechless, but here Sal is rendered speechless. He says nothing to the cardinal, so the Cardinal Archbishop repeats what he just said. Then, so, will you do it? Do what? Give the speech. Speech? 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 The Holy Father wants to hear from real Catholics, actual Catholics from the area. I suggested you. Well, I should say I demanded you. Me? Me? Why me? Would you be surprised if I told you I've been a faithful listener of Sal from Sal and Tommy on AM 740 for 8 years now? No, get out. I haven't missed an episode in 8 years. Well, thank you. But what does this have to do with the Pope thing? Well, you're a Catholic, aren't you? No, Sal says. I mean, I'm not any kind worth mentioning. Haven't been to church in years. Are you baptized? Listen, my name is Sal Verrazano. What do you think? Am I baptized? My grandmother, she'd cook all day Sundays and still make it to 3 masses. Am I baptized? Right, the Cardinal Archbishop says. Good, then, so you'll do it. Do a speech? You want me to give a speech? The Pope wants you to give a speech. Nothing crazy. 5 minutes. You'll be one of 4 people to do it. It's like a warm-up act before a concert. The theme, well, like I said, what it means to be a Catholic in New York today. Okay, but like I told you, I'm no Catholic. I haven't been to Mass. Look, I'm not the guy. I need to get home. What's stopping you from doing this? What exactly? How often does the Pope ask you to do something? Sal laughs. This sounds like some rabbi and minister walk into a bar joke opening. What do you say? The Cardinal Archbishop says. From one New York kid to another. 2 guys at the Meadowlands 30 years ago waiting for Phil Simms to autograph their program. That is absolutely disgusting, Sal says. That's terrible. What do you say? He asks again. I don't know. You really want me to do this? The Pope wants you to do it. The Pope asked me who I think it should be, and I said you. And so he told me, he said, when you pick that person, I, in effect, have picked the person. Sal exhales. Yes or no? Sal begins. Can I go to confession? I need to, look, I'll do it. But first, it's been a long time. And as if waiting for him to say that, to ask that question, have sought just such a thing out, the Cardinal Archbishop motions to a more private place, a little place in the corner, and 2 chairs are arranged, and after a few more seconds, most likely a minute plus, Sal begins, reading off a little card that was just handed to him. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been 27 years since my last confession. The time from that moment, let's even say the moment of absolution, then the saying of the penance, then the sitting there silently by himself, for the Cardinal Archbishop had left, until today, the day of the papal visit to New York, had gone by like a blur. But here it was, the day, the visit, and here he was, Sal, standing on the makeshift stage about to go up and holding in his hands the speech he had written, after 9 drafts of it. Onto the final copy now, and he was sure it was perfect. Failing that, as perfect as he, imperfect he, could make it. What struck him the most was that it had all been that easy. 27 years, so what? He was baptized. That made him a Catholic. He'd always been a Catholic, no matter how much he had put it on pause or even basically just about thrown it all away. Why had it taken all this for him to think, I need to go to confession? And he wondered how many fallen away Catholics go through their days thinking it's hard, that the more they're away, the more they're going to have to do to come back. But no, because it's true. Christ paid that price. And what we have to do is just say yes. Just say, look, I got to go to confession. And sure, the priest might assign a penance of walking barefoot in the snow for 100 miles for 100 days in a row, but he's probably not going to. And when you go to confession, you're going to be back. That's it. Go to confession. Do fallen away Catholics understand this, Sal thought? For he had been thinking about this basically all the time the past few days, the past few weeks. It's not like you got to go to these classes or go to this conference or fly across the country or read 71 books or not eat meat for 6 months or write personal letters of apology to 60 people you've offended over the years or this or that or this other thing. It's, I really got to get to confession. And since he'd been to confession, he'd be doing other things too. He started praying the rosary. He's been praying the rosary daily, and maybe he'll do it the rest of his life. Who knows? But to get inspiration on that, he's been visiting churches all about New York, just walking in, sometimes for Mass, sometimes not for Mass, sometimes just to pray. And he wrote the intro to the talk he's about to give, sitting on a bench in Battery Park, looking out at the Statue of Liberty after he'd spent the past 2 hours sitting in silence in some old 19th century, more like chapel than church, but 2 blocks away. And he visited the World Trade Center Memorial and sat on the benches there for 3 hours and prayed for all those who died and prayed for the first time in his life for the souls in purgatory. Then he wrote the conclusion to this talk by hand in purple inked pen, cross outlines in pencil, and then he prayed for them again, both of these groups again. And he could not stop marveling about how much change had been brought about in his life simply by deciding to go to confession. Now it was time. He was no longer there, somewhere in his thoughts, but very much here. The Pope was here, and hundreds of thousands, maybe even more than 1 million New Yorkers were here. And he heard his name, and he heard the crowd cheering, at least he thought, as they were obligated to do, for that is what you do. You hear the person announced, and you clap, and you cheer. But as he walked to the podium and adjusted the microphone and laid out his speech, he was certain, praise God, by the grace of God, that what he would say over the next 4 minutes and 45 seconds was exactly what was needed to be said. And there must be some reason God, not simply the Cardinal Archbishop or the Pope, had chosen him to be here now, and to speak. And so he began.